You know, if you came from, say, time traveled to the 1990s and found me and said, Tone, 20, 25 years from now, you'll be sitting around defending the president about what he said about Columbus on Columbus Day, I would have said to you, what the hell are you talking about? Columbus Day is just a day off. Nobody cares about Columbus. He's just a historical figure. Get the hell away from me, future man. And yet, here I am with a hot take on the proclamation on Columbus Day 2020. You gotta hear this. This is from Trump. Issued October 9th, 2020. And this is by request, by the way. Thank you, CB. You ready, Joan? Yeah, you look ready. She had a nice veal bone. Oh, she's very full. All right, let's get into it. More than 500 years ago, Christopher Columbus's intrepid voyage to the New World ushered in a new era of exploration and discovery. His travels led to European contact with the Americas, and a century later, the first settlements on the shores of the modern-day United States. Today, we celebrate Columbus Day to commemorate the great Italian, thank you, who opened up a new chapter in the world history and to appreciate his enduring significance to the Western Hemisphere. When Christopher Columbus and his crew sailed across the Atlantic Ocean on the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, it marked the beginning of a new era in human history. For Italian Americans, thank you, Christopher Columbus represents one of the first of many immeasurable contributions of Italy to American history. As a native of Genoa, Columbus inspired early immigrants to carry forth their rich Italian heritage, thank you, to the New World. Today, the United States benefits from the warmth and generosity of nearly 17 million Italian Americans, thank you, whose love of family and country strengthen the very fabric of our nation. For our beautiful Italian American communities, thank you, and Americans of every background, Columbus remains a legendary figure. Sadly, in recent years, radical activists have sought to undermine Christopher Columbus's legacy. These extremists seek to replace discussion of his vast contributions with talk of failings, his discoveries with atrocities, and his achievements with transgressions. Rather than learn from our history, this radical ideology and its adherents seek to revise it, deprive it of any splendor, and mark it as inherently sinister. They seek to squash any dissent from their orthodoxy. We must not give in to these tactics or consent to such a bleak view of our history. I agree. We must teach future generations about our storied heritage, starting with the protection of monuments to our intrepid heroes like Columbus. This June, I signed an executive order to ensure that any person or group destroying or vandalizing a federal monument, memorial, or statue is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I have also taken steps to ensure that we preserve our nation's history and promote patriotic education. In July, I signed another executive order to build and rebuild monuments to iconic American figures in a National Garden of American Heroes. In September, I announced the creation of the 1776 Commission, which will encourage our educators to teach our children about the miracle of American history and honor our founding. In addition, last month, I signed an executive order to root out the teaching of racially divisive concepts from the federal workplace, many of which are grounded in the same type of revisionist history that is trying to erase Christopher Columbus from our national heritage. Together, we must safeguard our history and stop this new wave of iconoclasm by standing against those who spread hate and division. On this Columbus Day, we embrace the same optimism that led Christopher Columbus to discover the New World. We inherit that optimism along with the legacy of American heroes who blazed the trails, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, and built the single greatest nation the world has ever seen. In commemoration of Christopher Columbus's historic voyage, the Congress, by joint resolution of April 30th, 1934, modified in 1968, has requested the president proclaim the second Monday of October each year as Columbus Day. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim October 12th, 2020 as Columbus Day. I call upon the people of the United States to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities. I also direct the flag of the United States to be displayed on all public buildings on appointed day in honor of our diverse history and all who have contributed to shaping this nation. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand this 9th day of October in the year of our Lord 2020 with the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. Donald J. Trump. Boom! Yeah. So, F you. Basically, for those of you who want to tear down Columbus's statue. I told you, it was important to Italian immigrants. And the progressives of that day built all the Columbus statues. They demanded we have Columbus statues. They were the equivalent of that time to all the stuff they named after JFK today. You know, those were the immigrants the progressives were trying to help and welcome to the country. And so taking down Columbus Day is like saying, well, you know, MLK cheated on his wife, therefore we can't have MLK Day anymore. We really have to have, you know, women who have been cheated on day or something. It's two different things. You know, indigenous peoples can have their own day. They can have their own month. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't we have more holidays? I'm all for holidays. I am against tearing down other holidays. There's no point to it. This is a free day off, at least for government workers, not anybody else anymore. And for Italian Americans, you know, it's an important day. Really, it's a day we should take off and do Italian stuff, really. But people don't see the historical context anymore because they don't know history. They don't understand that in the early 1900s, this was super important to Italian Americans. They just don't get it. They think, oh, you guys are doing well, therefore you don't need all this stuff. That's not the point at all. You know, there are all sorts of people who are doing well in various races and groups. Doesn't mean we have to take away their holidays and days. And yeah, Columbus wasn't a perfect guy. In fact, coincidentally enough, an article came out today saying that some of the natives that Columbus had to confront were actually cannibals. Yeah, it's a whole article. Google it on your own. They were from this tribe that had invaded the Caribbean, and they were there. They had invaded back in 800 AD, and they were still there when Columbus had shown up. Which may explain why when Columbus left a bunch of his guys and went back to Spain and came back, they were all dead. So, you know, no one in history has clean hands, especially when you go back to a time like the 1500s, right? Or 1400s, 1500s. That was a time, you know, think about it. There's no videotape. There's no fingerprints. There's no cops. So, if you were in a bar during that time, and you had a few drinks, and you met someone there who became your buddy, and you started drinking, and he started buying you drinks, and you laughed, and you had a good time, and then you start walking home, and then you get to a dark section of the city or street, maybe you cut down an alley, He just lets you get ahead of him, and then he stabs you a bunch of times and robs you. Who's going to catch him? Who's going to catch him? There's no fingerprints. There's no videotape. Unless somebody happens to be in the same alley, you're done. You're done. There's no hospital that can really help you. You're just going to either survive that stabbing or you're going to die. And you're probably going to die because he's probably going to stab you enough times to kill you because you're really the only person who could connect him to the crime. And then he robs you and is on his merry way to the next guy he's going to kill. That's, doesn't mean it was a savage time. Doesn't mean that happened every day, but I'm just saying, it's not like today. You can't do that in the United States and expect to get away with it. There's video cameras everywhere. People have IDs and dental records, and can't just stab someone and leave their body and leave the knife behind. I mean, you could do that back then. You could stab somebody up, just leave the knife if you didn't want to. You just wash it off and stab the next guy with it. So this was a time when things like this happened. People just died. People got fed up with you. And you know what? Let's kill these guys. Why? Oh, well, we got more people, and if we kill them, we get their stuff. Oh, all right. That happened. So, kind of a dog-eat-dog world back then. You had to be careful. Didn't mean everybody did that, but it was tough. And, the opening up of the new world, for the indigenous people, that hurt them to some extent. Some say it helped them because for the people at the time, they thought they were helping the immortal souls of the people who lived there. Now, I'm not saying they were right. I'm not a religious guy, but they believed it. So, you got to be careful in that respect. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So there is a lot of good intentions out there. And there were some good intentions back in the day. But to tear down our history, that just means we're going to repeat it again. Christopher Columbus did, what he did. He discovered the Americas. And he also took some slaves and did some other things to enrich himself. But we don't concentrate on every little thing. Just like we don't say, hey, Martin Luther King, you mean the adulterer? No, we say Martin Luther King, the guy who was instrumental in getting civil rights in the United States. So, it's nice to see the president or a president support our holidays, support this day, to acknowledge Italian Americans. Thank you. And, be positive. Because you could look at anything, especially in history, and note its bleakness. It's there's no one with clean hands. So, let's be positive. Happy Columbus Day. Especially to you out there, paisans.